a real MK operative. Today, I table vote 13 for the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. We are determined to ensure that public assets are used for public good and in the service of economic growth, job creation, and dignity. And this budget is all about ending a cycle of neglect and slow progress that has bedeviled the department. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has been allocated 7.6 billion rand for the next financial year, which grows to 7.9 billion rand in a constrained fiscal environment. Every cent must be directed towards building a capable, ethical, and accountable state that can deliver infrastructure, manage its assets efficiently, and create real opportunities for South Africans. This year's budget is focused on 5 key initiatives. Firstly, fighting corruption and strengthening governance. Secondly, is accelerating infrastructure delivery. Thirdly, is restructuring our asset management systems. Fourthly, is reforming the EPWP program. And fifthly, is driving digitization across the department. Our task is to ensure that every rand delivers and protects public value and strengthens governance. Over the past year, we've taken action to confront corruption and maladministration in our department. We've launched 400 high-risk official lifestyle audits, and we are finalizing investigations into ghost employees who were irregularly paid by the department. Where wrongdoing is confirmed, action will be taken swiftly. We appointed a permanent Director General for Governance, Risk and Compliance, and this office will lead the department's internal reform agenda, ensuring governance lapses are identified early, procurement is monitored rigorously, and fraud is reported and acted on. Through the Construction Industry Development Board, 40 underperforming contractors now face delisting, with 15 already deregistered in June alone. In the past, since 2002, only one was delisted. In this environment, I will be introducing a revised Council for the Built Environment Bill to strengthen governance, clarify regulatory powers, and ensure greater accountability across the built environment sector. We've also made it clear that our public entities must be centers of excellence. The IDT, long plagued by instability, now has a new board appointed which will take up its full mandate in the coming days. This marks the beginning of a new chapter for this beleaguered entity. We've also taken steps to address the threat of construction site disruptions by the so-called construction mafia, which has held back critical projects, delayed delivery, and intimidated contractors. We are tackling this threat head-on. In just the first 6 months, we've had confirmation of an 80% reduction in work stoppages due to our actions. We fast-tracked the Integrated Social Facilitation Framework, now gazetted and heading to Cabinet, which embeds social facilitation in all project planning. And we believe early community engagement will reduce criminal interference and improve project outcomes. We know that South Africa can't grow unless we scale up our infrastructure across the country. The department, through Infrastructure South Africa, has launched its second edition of the construction book, listing 250 pipeline projects worth 268 billion rand. This is a 100% increase on the year before and a truly remarkable achievement in just a year. These projects are fully scoped, prepared, and ready to attract investment. And since its May launch, the book has already drawn overwhelming investor interest, which is a strong signal of market confidence in the work that we are doing. The launch of the project preparation facility, which was another first for us, received over 90 submissions for the 180 million rand in available funding that we brought to the book, further showing the serious demand and interest in the work that we are doing. We're engaging international partners like Meridian to scale up infrastructure investment and project planning. We must now respond with delivery, with the top 7 priority projects announced during the SIDS SA 2025 conference. Formalizing Infrastructure South Africa as the single entry point for infrastructure has long become overdue now. I will soon be meeting with the Minister of Finance and the Minister in the Presidency to finalize this process. And concurrently, we are working to finalize the Infrastructure Development Amendment Act, which will aid us in this objective. This bill gives legal power to Infrastructure South Africa, enabling ESA to lead project planning and execution, hold entities accountable, and ensure that every project is delivered on time and on budget. I look forward to introducing this key piece of legislation as soon as possible, which will change the entire approach South Africa has previously taken to infrastructure delivery. In another first, we've launched the Adopt a Municipality program to assist local municipalities with infrastructure delivery. And we are forming a partnership with Agri-SA and Agri-Biz, together with Infrastructure SA, which seeks to guarantee food security for South Africa. In the year ahead, Infrastructure South Africa will play a greater role in project packaging, preparing, and execution. The department manages over 88,000 buildings and 5 million hectares of land. In essence, we are South Africa's largest property portfolio. The management of these assets falls within our property management trading entity, but for decades this portfolio has underperformed and been underutilized, and we are going to be changing that. We're overhauling the 20-year-old Government Immovable Asset Management Act to enable modern, flexible asset use and pilot innovation. With these amendments, we are able to make our assets to become revenue-generating, create investment opportunities for both domestic and foreign investors, as well as providing jobs and economic growth. We are restructuring the PMTE to ensure that the asset base of the state is managed with professionalism, discipline, and a return on investment mindset. In this regard, we want to develop a high-value asset portfolio which is investable and which generates returns for the state. This will be a difficult process, but ladies and gentlemen, honourable members, it is absolutely essential. We have already begun identifying government leases that can be migrated from private properties to state buildings. We cannot and we should not be paying 6 billion rand a year in leases when we have empty government buildings, and this can be better spent on upgrading our own inventory. We are also using public land to drive economic and social development. We've released properties for use as shelters in the fight against GBV and substance abuse. In the last year, we've released 17 such properties in Gauteng, in Mpumalanga, and the Western Cape, including 2 in Malmesbury this morning, with more to follow in the next few months. We are also building partnerships to unlock large-scale infrastructure initiatives. This week, I met with the Minister of Human Settlements to finalize collaboration around Operation Vulindlela 2 priority housing and land release projects to ensure that we use idle land to expand opportunities for social housing, something that has not meaningfully taken place to date. In KwaZulu-Natal, we are working with the SAPS to establish a state-of-the-art forensic laboratory, and this lab will accelerate DNA testing and support justice for victims. And in Johannesburg, we are partnering with the NGOs, with an organization called Josie My Josie, where at the end of this month, we'll be signing an MOU for them to maintain and repair the Johannesburg High Court at absolutely no cost to the state. Fully privately funded, this project will restore one of South Africa's busiest courts to full function. A central element of our asset model of the DG, the SSDU is tasked with unlocking public value from underutilized assets where the department has been unable to implement the necessary change or where projects have been stalled for a few years. Its first focus is to overhaul leasing and to unlock revenue, investment, and job creation. Specialists will come to assist to ensure that all of our leases are value for money, corruption and collusion free, and that we are able to track our leases in real time. A second focus is the revitalization of small harbors. In the Western Cape, this work has started with the advertising of the project manager to begin and imagine the renovation of the Hout Bay Harbour, which conservatively will bring in billions of rands of new investment and will become the next version of the V&A waterfront. We are visiting small craft harbours across the country, and we are expanding this project into the short and medium term. Our objective is clear: to turn these neglected sites into functional, vibrant economic hubs that support tourism, enterprise, and create jobs. Over the past year, we have undertaken a deep review of the EPWP, and to be frank, the findings have been stark. We have found troubling reports of gatekeeping, irregular recruitment, and even exploitation. With a budget of 2.2 billion rand, down 7% from last year, the program is being redesigned around transparency, skills, development, and opportunity to ensure sustainability. In partnership with Harambee Youth Accelerator, we are developing a new model that links EPWP participants to pathways for permanent work or entrepreneurship. However, we are in the advanced stages to pilot these in 2 provinces, in KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. Participants must leave the program with a trade, a certificate, or a meaningful next step, not just a short-term stipend. And for the first time, EPWP participants will be able to create digital CVs and link directly to job opportunities. With EPWP, 76.5 million rand has been budgeted to train over 23,000 participants, but we are also allocating funding for bursaries and graduate programs in the built environment, including 3,000 internships and placements to begin strengthening the future pipeline of professions for our department and the built environment. Previously, bursaries were awarded without work commitments, costing millions with no return. Today, anyone obtaining a bursary from the department will be required to work in the department or private sector for a minimum of 2 years. This will retain skills in South Africa and build internal capacity. None of this will be possible, however, honourable members, without a radical shift in how we use technology. We are investing in a fully digital, GIS-enabled asset register that will give us real-time information on every property, its location, its condition, its occupational status, and its cost to maintain. When I took office, submissions were printed and couriered between offices and head offices. This meant that critical decisions could take up to 5 months before being actioned. Last month, we approved a digital sign-off app developed in-house, in our own office, at no external cost, that allows instant authorizations by myself, the DG, and staff members. This is testament that we have excellence in this department. We just need to nurture it. This will be the end of chaos, the chaos of paper-based files and lost records, and this is the power of what digitization does. We're investing in building information modeling, predictive analytics, and digital tools. These tools will help prevent breakdowns, plan upgrades, and forecast future maintenance needs. Our goal is to turn Public Works into a smart delivery department, driven by data, informed by evidence, and accountable in real time. However, there remains a serious challenge in us achieving our goals, and that is the non-payment by client departments. As of 31 March 2025, the department has invoiced 20 billion rand, and only 16.5 billion rand has been paid. 4.3 billion rand remains outstanding, alongside 10 billion rand in historic debt. This undermines our ability to pay service providers, maintain infrastructure, and roll out new projects. This cannot continue any longer. Chairperson, in May last year, South Africa decided it needed change. We're delivering on our job-creating, growth-focused mandate. We're not here to preserve the status quo. We've tackled hard reforms and will continue cleaning house while delivering at the same time. But we are also shifting to implementation, and we are now focused religiously on delivery. If this is in 1 year, imagine what the next 4 could be like. The best is still to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I will now recognize Honorable Dlelanga.
House Chairperson, Minister Amafisi, Deputy Minister Zigalala, DG and the team, honorable members, Molweni, Sanbonani, Dumelang. Let me and on behalf of the ANC, first and foremost confirm our support for this budget vote. We support this vote because we feel that it is a vital component to address challenges facing our people through the programs under the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. For us to properly implement our budgetary obligations, we need to have a proper regulatory framework for construction and infrastructure development, which lay a foundation for delivery of services for our people. In order to ensure safety, quality, sustainability, we will, while simultaneously fostering economic growth and social fairness, a suitable regulatory framework is essential for South African infrastructure development and construction. By establishing guidelines and ensuring adherence and encouraging openness and accountability among the sectors it offers for responsible growth. A mix of national laws, policy directives, and government agencies make up South Africa's regulatory framework for building and achieving targets of infrastructure development initiatives. The Constitution, the Infrastructure Development Act, the Construction Industry Development Board Act, and other laws pertaining to infrastructure development, acquisition and change in the building industry are important components. In order to execute and monitor these regulations, public organizations such as National Treasurer, the CIDB, the Department of Public Works are also essential. As we reaffirm our support for the budget, let me start with Agreement South Africa, which is one of its duties, is to assess the suitability of non-standardized system or goods used in the building sector for which there is no national standard. The organization will concentrate on putting programs in place that will encourage social cohesiveness and safer communities in the medium run. It intends to accomplish this in the medium term by issuing 45 eco-labeling schemes, certifying 45 products and systems through partnership with different organizations, conducting quarterly, yearly quality and compliance inspections for certificates in use, and conducting yearly market usage analysis to complement the reach and the use of the certified products and systems. 45 million and 11.4 million, respectively, are allocated over the medium-term budget period to the regulatory and certification services program and the proactive and the pertinent built environment interventions program in order to meet those goals. These allocations together make an estimated 48.6% of the entity's overall budget, from 35.9 million in 2024 to 42 million to 2027 or to 2028. And these total expenditures are anticipated to rise at an average annual rate of 5.4%. During the medium-term period, staff remuneration is predicted to account for an amount of 82 million of the entity's budget. Let me move to CIDP. This entity is also very important, which is required to oversee the transformation of the construction sector by promoting and facilitating the participation of historically underrepresented groups, to establish and to promote best practices among the public and the private sector roles in the construction delivery process, and providing strategic leadership to stakeholders in the industry to stimulate growth. The best project assessment plan, which aims to grow small and emerging contractors in the industry and to increase capacity, is implemented by this board. Over the coming years, this program is anticipated to bring in an estimated 240 million. And this board will carry out its developing strategies, including offering development finance, which with the use of these monies. Let me move faster to the Council for the Built Environment, which is also a critical organization, which encourages and defends the public's interest in matters pertaining to built environment. It encourages and preserves a sustainable built and natural environment while encouraging the continuous development of human resource in the built environment, which further it promotes and encourages the prudent management of the built environment professions and make it easier for professionals in the built environment to participate in integrated development within the framework of national objectives. As a result, the Council intends to keep concentrating on facilitating and managing the built environment skills pipeline in the medium-term environment. The Professional Skills and Capacity Development Program, which has a medium-term budget of 2.9 million, is anticipated to carry out these objectives. The Council intends to oversee the execution of the built environment structures. Let me move to the IDT. This is another important entity, and we need to look into this IDT. The IDT is a state development organization that carries out the projects that are commissioned by the state and local governments. These projects are social infrastructure programs as the foundation for reaching communities and creating assets on those areas. The IDT's medium-term goal is to empower the underprivileged communities by offering project management services for the construction and renovation of social infrastructure, mostly in rural areas, including schools, clinics, and community centers. By doing this, it anticipates creating 43,000 jobs opportunities annually over the course of the next years, primarily through the expanded public works program. An additional 8,637 jobs opportunities through the other program portfolios. And the program management, which has the medium-term budget of 681.6 million, will carry out all these tasks. From the 529 million in 2024 to 655 million to 28, expenditure is expected to rise at an average annual rate of 7.4%. Employees' compensation is projected to account for 935 million of the total spending during this time frame. The majority of the IDT's income, which is 2 billion over the medium term, come from the management fees paid to the Department of Infrastructure and Public Works, as well as other clients' departments. It is anticipated that the revenue will rise from 520 million in 2024 to 731 million in 2027, at an average annual rate of 12.1%. Having said so, having confirmed our commitment and our support for this report, we say people need jobs. We say projects that are delayed must be opened and must be implemented as per the time frames. We say public works must be managed properly. Thank you so much. We support the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Nxumalo.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, Umkhonto Wesizwe Party stands before this House not to decorate failure,
Sorry, Honorable Nxumalo. Honorable members from the right side, the noise you are making. Can I not get any assistance, please? Please, can we keep it down so that we listen to other members on the podium as well? Continue, Honorable Nxumalo.
Thank you. Umkhonto Wesizwe Party stands before this House not to decorate failure with polite language, but to categorically reject budget vote 13 of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Let us not sugarcoat the truth. This is not a pro-poor budget. It is the protection budget for the politically connected. It shields failing institutions such as IDT and CPE, just to name the few. Currently, CPE has got a vacancy rate of 30.7%, and it has got 20% vacant positions. This is another way of showing that this department is not going into the right direction. And also there is IDT that the minister has not mentioned in his, I don't want to say he's not mentioned, but he has not mentioned this fact that currently there is a fluctuating vacancy rate of 10 to 40% in IDT. And there is also no plan from the side of the minister as to how is he going to ensure that IDT does not heavily depend on the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. We are told infrastructure is the heart of economic recovery, but what does this budget do? Real investment in capital infrastructure has declined. The PMTE, which is the very engine of public asset management, has seen a cut of 124 million. And the digitization program, which has already soaked in over 100 million of public funds, remain an empty promise. Where is the immovable asset register, Minister? The minister has just spoken about 88,000 properties under this department. But the truth of the matter is, even the minister himself is not sure as to how many properties this department has. Again, the minister is talking about the 6 billion rands which is being spent on private leases, but he is not telling us, or is not coming up with a plan as to how is he going to stop that from happening over and over again. Now, let's come to the expanded public works program, which this department parades as a job creation success. Let me tell you, this one is also in crisis. The budget for the EPWP has dropped in real terms. The department speaks of creating 1 million work opportunities per year, but what it doesn't say is that these are temporary. They are poorly paid. The people who are working there are poorly paid. Again, the minister has not come out clearly and to tell this House and the rest of South Africans that, look, the people who are working in those under EPWP are getting paid far less than what the Department of Labor stipulated. They are being paid something that is less than the living wage. Thank you. Yes. And are without upward mobility. The youth are being recycled through poverty, not lifted out of it. And shockingly, while millions of South Africans are without shelter, clean water, or toilet, the minister has not said anything about the prestige portfolio receives 71 million to maintain VIP residences and elite comfort. That is another problem with the GNU. We are paying a lot of money to make sure that the GNU is well taken care of. This is the spit in the face of the poor. The 7.2 billion allocated to the program that aims to create 5 million work opportunities targeting women and children is not backed by any tangible implementation strategies, and yet is another empty promises by the ideologically incoherent GNU. Honorable members, let us speak plainly. This budget fails to align with the Expropriation Act of 2024, still clinging to the Repeal Act of 1975. It protects the property of the elite while ignoring land hunger of the majority. It starves transformation programs while pampering entities that are not financially viable, like the ones I've mentioned earlier. The property management trading entity is collapsing under its own debt and has failed to attract engineers, lawyers, and skilled staff. Again, the minister has failed once more to tell this House as to how is he planning to make sure that this entity in particular is able to recover the monies that are owed to it. It can't even collect money owed to it by the government departments. And yet the department offers no real solutions, only meaningless jargon like oversight and coordination. Why is 54.1 billion worth of funding allocated to this entity if there is no clear evidence of its contribution to efficient and cost-effective service delivery to our people? The IDT, meant to bring dignity to infrastructure, is limping from one audit to the next. I talked about that one earlier. Its work opportunities are declining. Its finances are unsustainable, but still we are asked to rubber stamp this mess. Honorable Chair, the MKP represents the voiceless, landless, and the working poor. We do not support a budget that prioritizes bureaucracy over building, chooses prestige over its people, and promotes empty targets over tangible changes. We demand an end to wasteful prestige until service infrastructure is stabilized. Full alignments of departmental policy and reporting with the 2024 Expropriation Act. A targeted allocation to rural cooperative black contractors and communities-owned project, an urgent recovery of every cent misused of failed digitization schemes. This is not a revolutionary budget. It is a recycled allied consensus, and we reject it without apology. Transformation of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure alongside its entities remains to be seen. We reiterate that the people of this country did not vote for more promises, they voted for delivery. MK Part will not endorse a budget that protects comfort for the few and crisis for many. I thank you.
Thank you. I will now recognize Honorable Marais.
Chairperson, the mandate of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure was reconfigured in 2019 when the President of South Africa announced that he will assume the responsibility of coordinating all public infrastructure development in the country. The department performs the infrastructure mandate together with Infrastructure South Africa. The goal of the National Infrastructure Plan 2025 is to create a foundation for achieving the National Development Plan 2030 vision of inclusive growth. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure must implement a sector-wide infrastructure plan and focus on the impact of the sector towards economic growth, job creation, work opportunities, and infrastructure delivery. The Medium-Term Development Plan 2024 to 2029 outlines the following priorities relevant to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Priority number 1 is inclusive growth and job creation. Priority number 2 is reduce poverty and tackle high cost of living. And priority number 3, a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Minister Dean McPherson has served with distinction since his appointment in June 2024. During this period, he has demonstrated exceptional leadership and unwavering commitment towards South Africa's economic growth and job creation through strategic infrastructure development. He has also prioritized transparency, fostered meaningful public-private partnerships, and championed ethical governance. Under Minister McPherson's stewardship, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has embraced a renewed focus on turning South Africa into a construction site through the visionary #Let's Build South Africa initiative. His dedication to creating an enabling environment for economic growth is evident in his proactive engagement with investors regarding policy, certainly culminating in successful hosting of the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium South Africa 2025, a platform that has strengthened investor confidence and positioned South Africa as a destination for infrastructure investment. The 2025 SONA remains focused on job creation, the implementation of a large-scale infrastructure projects and maintenance. It highlights the aim of ensuring the public ownership of strategic ownership for public benefit. It is further focused on great efforts to move the country towards being free of corruption. The department received a voted allocation of 7.62 billion for 25-26, with which to accomplish these priorities. This represents an increase of 0.14 in nominal terms and a decrease of 0.14 in real terms, calculating the impact of inflation from the 24-25 adjustment appropriation of 7.61 billion. The department's budget represents approximately 0.1% of the national appropriation by vote, excluding direct charges. It is important to note the integration of the function of the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, transferred from the Minister of Economic Development to the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. This functioning came into effect in April 2020. The aim is to improve the mandate to grow the economy through inclusive integrated planning and investment. The 2025 budget review outlines the government's aim of prioritizing infrastructure provision as follows. Plans to invest more than 1.3 trillion in public infrastructure over the next 3 years. Planned spend of 18.1 billion on the Salvokop government precinct, a mixed-use development that includes the construction of facilities for 4 national government departments in Pretoria's inner city. 7.1 billion allocation towards the implementation of the Small Harbour Development Project in 4 provinces. Chairperson, the expanded public works program is undergoing the 5th iteration, focusing on sustainable job creation, skills and development. The program operates across social and environmental sectors, aiming to create over 1 million work opportunities annually. It is funded with 7.2 billion allocated over the 3 years, including 6 billion for transfers to public bodies and 683 million for administrative costs. The program also emphasizes training and capacity building to ensure participants transition into long-term employment of entrepreneurship. Coordination and control must, however, be strengthened, and supervision on a local level fell short of effectiveness. Chairperson, the departments aligned infrastructure projects with social economic priorities to create employment as a key factor to promote inclusive growth. It plans to mobilize 350 billion over the next 5 years for public sector infrastructure projects, including urban regeneration, transport, networks, and energy solutions. We support all the initiative of the Minister to stimulate economic growth and job creation to change the South African landscape to a construction site in this 7th Parliament and as part of the GNU. The DA support this budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Letlape.
Thank you, Chair. The Economic Freedom Fighters rejects the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure budget vote. This budget is hollow, directionless, and uninspiring, and provides no departure from the lethargic manner the department has approached its mandate over the past 30 years. This department is entrusted to be the custodian of our nation's immovable assets worth trillions of rands, with the coordination of infrastructure development and the transformation of the built environment. Yet, year after year, what we see is a department wired with dysfunction, underspending, and policy stagnation. The priorities are stagnant, and each year is a rehashing of previous commitments with no one ever taking accountability for implementation. The digitization of the immovable asset register, improved assets management, and clean audits, all of these are permanent features of this department's annual plans, and yet nothing ever gets done. The so-called State Asset Information Management System has already cost taxpayers 100 million rand, and yet it's still incomplete. The PMTE, which is responsible for managing and maintaining state buildings, faces a whopping 124 million budget cut compared to last year. And this cut undermines the ability to reduce the massive reliance on private leases and addressing the maintenance backlog in public buildings. This is while the administration program budget grows by 45 million rand, a typical proof that bureaucracy is chosen and prioritized over service delivery. There is no credible model to ensure that the entities of the department survive without permanent subsidies. Agrima SA is wholly dependent on DPWI funding and has no concrete revenue plan. The IDT, meant to be self-sustaining, is in chronic financial distress and effectively functions as a bailout-dependent entity. Making things worse, the DA is now attempting to infiltrate the IDT in a similar way the ANC infiltrates state entities for corrupt ends. The Construction Industry Development Board faces credible allegations that contractor grading is being sold and manipulated. Yet the department has absolutely no plan to hold anyone accountable. 82% of the department's budget goes to transfers and subsidies, most of it going to agencies and entities that do not deliver measurable impacts. Less than 0.2% is spent on capital assets, no meaningful investment in new infrastructure. The infrastructure South Africa is spread across the presidency, National Treasury, and DPWI, with no clear governance, creating confusion and oversight vacuum over billions. This overlapping and duplication is a playground for corruption and inefficiency. Over 71 million rand is still allocated to maintaining prestige residences and events, while schools and clinics decay. This is a clear demonstration of elitism and misplaced priorities. The so-called infrastructure investment plan has now become a public relations exercise rather than a genuine stimulus. And House Chair, to rescue the sinking ship of the DA and ANC stockfell at the cost of our people, the EFF recommends the following: that EPWP be transformed into a permanent public sector employment program offering decent wages, skills development, and career progression, and also to highlight the fact that EPWP is now used by political parties, particularly the DA and the ANC, to curb and to corner people, our people, in a poverty trap and ensuring that they run and they work for the elections campaign instead of giving them employment. That the department immediately audits all leased properties and prioritize refurbishing and occupying state-owned buildings to cut costs and create decent jobs in refurbishment. The department to strengthen its internal capacity to maintain infrastructure, especially schools, hospitals, and government buildings which are collapsing across the country. That there must be consequence management to be enforced decisively with officials for irregular and fruitless expenditure to be dismissed and prosecuted. House Chair, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has the potential to be a backbone of radical economic transformation, to build bridges, roads, clinics, and with dignity. But under the current leadership and with these flawed plans, and no coherent strategy to expropriate land for public benefit and reliance on private landlords, fix decaying infrastructure, create permanent jobs, or transforming the built environment meaningfully. The EFF rejects this budget vote and the annual performance plans. We refuse to endorse the continued betrayal of our people's aspirations for infrastructure that works, jobs that are secured, and a government that serves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I'll now recognize Honorable Ngobo.
Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure plays a crucial role in the development of South Africa. It shoulders the responsibility, a great responsibility, which is to provide and maintain buildings and related infrastructure for the public sector in a cost-effective way, among other things, while simultaneously attempting to provide these services in a manner that is beneficial to the development of the previously disadvantaged. This is what it does, Chairperson. This is what it must be dreaming about every day. The increase in the devastating floods in South Africa have demonstrated the great need to continuously invest in the infrastructure and maintenance. The IFP welcomed the Minister's plan to transform the country in a construction site. However, this was derailed by the need to address the threat posed by the construction mafia. Furthermore, this issue persists, and as a result, we are no longer closer to turning the country into a construction site. Moreover, on Sunday, it was reported that the Mpumalanga government intends to rescue public infrastructure projects worth over 4 billion rand that have been derailed by criminal interference and long-standing delays. The failure to address this issue decisively has serious implications for the department's role in the medium-term plan, particularly in supporting the economic growth through infrastructure investment and promoting social equity by creating job opportunities. Now, turning to the department budget and annual performance, the IFP wishes to reiterate its concern over the slow progress in empowering the department to collect fees related to leasing, maintenance, and other costs owed by the client departments. Accordingly, number one, the IFP supports the resolution of the Portfolio Committee that the department must engage the National Treasury to resolve the persistent payment issues with client departments. And two, the IFP furthermore strongly supports the Portfolio Committee's recommendation that the department expedites progress in digitizing procurement processes and managing state assets. However, we note the concern, the absence of additional funding for the digitization project, despite its critical importance and the urgent need for implementation. The State Asset Information Management System and the broader digitization strategy are essential to modernizing asset management and enhancement transparency. The budget reduction raises significant concerns, particularly regarding employee compensation. The cut poses a direct threat to the department's ability to attract and retain qualified, experienced property professionals. It is deeply troubling that these skilled graduates whose expertise is in high demand are not being properly utilized, given South Africa's staggering unemployment rate. This situation is unacceptable. And furthermore, without adequate funding, the recruitment and retention of these professionals will be compromised, further delaying the department and its entities in fulfilling their mandates. It is also concerning that the department has not presented a clear plan to address this pressing challenge. And in conclusion, the rebuilding of infrastructure and the implementation of structural reforms are critical not only to the MTDP, but also to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. The IFP remains resolute in its commitment to closely monitoring the department's progress, fulfilling its mandate to the people of South Africa. The IFP supports the budget vote, and thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Hendricks and Honorable Members. It is Honorable Hendricks' maiden speech, so if we can just be more welcoming. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, and my fellow South African patriots. On behalf of the Patriotic Alliance, I rise today in support of Vote 13, Public Works and Infrastructure for the 2025-26 financial year, not merely as a budget line item, but as a strategic investment in the dignity, safety, economic resilience of our people. We often speak of infrastructure as the backbone of development. But what good is a backbone if it is brittle, neglected, prone to collapse? Maintenance is not a technical afterthought. It is a moral imperative. This budget rightly allocates 38 million for repairs and maintenance across the Eastern Cape alone. This includes renovation of the DPWI houses and office accommodation, maintenance of critical plants, infrastructure, lifts, generators, transformers, deployment of 264 artisans across districts to perform routine, preventive, and corrective maintenance. These are not cosmetic upgrades. They are the difference between a functioning clinic and a condemned building, between a school that is inspire learning and one that endangers lives. We must confront the fiscal truth. Deferred maintenance is a debt. Every pothole left unpatched, every leaking roof ignored, compounds into litigation, emergency repairs, and stalled service delivery. The department has already faced costly legal judgment due to infrastructure failures. We cannot afford to repeat the cycle. This budget does more than fix buildings. It employs people. The expanded Public Works Program, EPW, received 7.2 billion over the MTEF period, with maintenance forming a key component of labor-intensive delivery. Artisans, technicians, and young graduates are being trained and deployed, not just to build, but to sustain. Let us be clear, maintenance is not a cost center. It is a job program, a skills pipeline, and a community stabilizer. The department rolls out of a culture change program centered on shared values and citizen-centric services is a welcome shift, Deputy Minister. Honorable members, supporting this budget is not for bricks and mortar. It is a vote for accountability, efficiency, and human dignity. Let us not build momentum to neglect. Let us build a legacy of care. I urge this House to support Vote 13, not just for what it builds, but for what it preserves. On Spaizani, we support.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I'll now recognize Honorable Vessels.
Honourable House Chairperson, the reality is that inefficiency and criminality is deeply rooted in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. That is the reality. There's also a very big conundrum or a paradox when one looks at public infrastructure. On the one hand, public infrastructure is the backbone of economic development. On the other hand, and at the same time, infrastructure and procuring contractors and contracting for infrastructure and maintenance can also be the biggest problem when it comes to corruption and losing money. Honourable House Chairperson, what fascinates me is that when one looks in general at how it works in any economy, If you are a bulk consumer or a bulk buyer, or you contract services in bulk from a certain contractor, then you usually get discount. You pay less. But in government terms, it works differently, almost opposite. Because, Chairperson, when one acknowledges the fact that corruption is deeply rooted, the only way, Minister, through you, Chairperson, that one can actually rid this department and this whole sector of corruption is to re-look at how we identify the indicators of corruption. If we just look at the normal, then we won't find the actual corruption. The problem in public infrastructure procurement is that government is paying much more than it should. Let's look at something that's under our noses, Chairperson, and that's the dome, just here behind us. That dome, Honourable Chairperson, is costing a nauseating amount of money for a temporary structure, something that Parliament, if the deadlines of the new building or the refurbishment of the National Assembly will be kept and if it will be delivered on, will only be used for less than 8 months. We're paying more than almost 60 million rand for that dome. With, for instance, transport costs that were nearly 1 million rand. That's inflated costs. It's inflated costs that's being paid to contractors. And Honourable House Chairperson, if that is not addressed, and it's not limited to public works and infrastructure, it's throughout government. Whilst we have this fiscal crisis, we don't have enough money. Departments don't have enough money, including this department, to actually maintain and do and fulfill its mandate. Then less must be done with more, or more must be done with less. And if you want to do more with less, then you have to go and look to pay market-related prices. If you build a building in the private sector, then you will pay X amount. If government does this, you pay X plus 100%. That must be addressed. We're losing money. Someone is getting richer, and it's not the people of South Africa. The people are continuing to suffer because of court buildings, hospitals, schools that are falling apart. There's no money for maintenance, but contractors are getting richer and richer. That must be addressed. Minister, you committed to rid this country of the construction mafia. Please do that urgently. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I'll now recognize Honourable Kobe.
Honourable House Chair, since the ascension of the Minister, he has shared with us his vision of South Africa as a construction site. However, a year later, economic growth remains below 1% and youth unemployment sits at unprecedented highs. Much like the GNU, this noble and very ambitious vision is fast approaching the end of its honeymoon phase. While we agree that infrastructure investment is key to sustainable economic recovery, we do not believe that the 7.62 billion allocated to this already dysfunctional department will achieve this goal. The budget represents a real decrease of 4.4 from the 2024-2025 adjusted appropriation. This cut threatens the department's ability to capacitate itself and deliver on its mandate. Public Works is South Africa's largest landlord, managing over 27,000 land parcels and 88,000 buildings through its property management trading entity. This portfolio, valued at 154 billion, is a national asset, but one in decline. The department has consistently failed to maintain its infrastructure, allowing assets to deteriorate and erode their economic value. Instead of leveraging these assets for financial sustainability, the PMTE relies on a growing overdraft while struggling to collect user charges owed by client departments. The PMTE is allocated 4.4 billion for the 2025-2026 financial year. On paper, this appears adequate, but in the absence of strategic planning and innovation, the entity has become a liability rather than an asset. But this is not what you will typically see broadcasted by the department to South Africans. You will instead be shown press conferences with the minister handing out land parcels here and there and buildings, as we have seen recently with social development and in Mpumalanga and quite recently in Nkandla. Meanwhile, just last week, the department appeared before the South African Human Rights Commission, summoned to explain the appalling state of facilities used by SAPS and correctional services, facilities which endanger the safety and dignity of those who live with them. It's a classic Kansas City shuffle, distracting us with ample social media posts and endless media briefings while deep institutional rot persists. This, South Africa, should serve as a serious warning about this department's capacity to manage its own responsibilities. The expanded public works program receives 2.29 billion, 30.2% of the budget, yet it reflects a nominal decline of 3.2. With this decline, we can only hope that not one less beneficiary from our townships and villages will be denied the opportunity to participate in this program. We hope that this investment will not fall prey to councillors who exploit these programs for electioneering, especially ahead of the 2026 local government elections. EPWP remains plagued by poor HR practices, unreliable funding, and a lack of accountability. Honorable Minister, it is not enough to offer people temporary work without real pathways to long-term employment. The department must equip beneficiaries with skills to contribute meaningfully to the construction site we are yet to see. Minister, before grand visions and lofty ideals, let's get the basics right. Maybe we can start with your plans to address the existing 8 billion maintenance backlog. Public Works does not need more PR or media briefings. It needs competent, decisive leadership to transform the built environment into the economic driver that it should be. In light of the above, Action SA will not be supporting this report.
Thank you. The next speaker will be the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Honorable Dean McPherson, Honorable members, the Director General and all senior managers present. I wish to start by paying homage and respect to the late Deputy President of our Republic, David Mabuza. We send our heartfelt condolences to his family. Our hearts are also with the chair of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Phiri, and her family on the sad loss they've suffered. 70 years ago, the ANC led the South African society from all walks of life to adopt the Freedom Charter on the 26th of June, 1955. One of the key demands of the Freedom Charter is found under the clause, I quote, "The people shall share in the country's wealth," close quote. During the Watershed Conference of Morogoro in 1969, in its strategy and tactics, the ANC unambiguously stated that, as I quote, "In our country, more than in any other part of the oppressed world, it is inconceivable for the liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the land to the people as a whole. It is therefore a fundamental feature of our strategy that victory must embrace more than formal political democracy. To allow the existing economic forces to retain their interest intact is to feed the rot of racial supremacy and does not represent even the shadow of liberation," close quote. As we debate Budget 13 of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure,
We are therefore called upon to remember the responsibility that history has bestowed on us to be the generation that deliver the injunctions of the Freedom Charter. As a department, as the minister stated in his address, we are denouncing the business as usual approach in the department. Our pursuit for service delivery excellence and high tangible performance is part of our attitude to ensure that we restore the confidence of the clients of the client departments. Honorable members, this budget vote offers us to reflect on transformation journey that started from 1994, especially to provide services to those who were denied. As we speak here, we have completed 48 Bailey bridges in the year 2024-2025. Additional 51 bridges are under construction. A total of 1,920 EPWP beneficiaries benefited from this program. Honorable Chair, as a department, we are committed to ensure that the three provinces that were denied opportunity of small harbours are also serviced. It is because of that we have finalized the three spatial economic development framework, which now pave the way for the implementation of small harbours in KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and Northern Cape. As the department, we have no choice but to meet a number of national development goals. We are pleased to report that, as per the IDT last performance report, this entity completed 315 new or replacement facilities worth 3.5 billion. More than that, the majority of people who benefited are women contractors as well as the youth. The impact of our work as the department is not mortar and brick alone, but it is also to ensure that we build the nation. As we continue with this work, we pay serious attention to the BBBEE to ensure that Blacks and Africans in particular benefit. By the year of 2012, in the property sector, Blacks had only 10%, but now they are at 20%. We say this is a progress, but it is not enough. We have to continue ensuring that we support Black people in the property sector. We continue to ensure that contractor development program impact in the development of those who were previously deprived. This includes the CIDP Build program, which this year has been allocated 100 million to support emerging contractors. If you oppose this bill, it means you are opposing the support to small contractors. Among others, we want to fast track and ensure that we remain committed to paying on time, pay within 30 days. And this we are doing at a level of processing 12,000 invoices that we track per month. As the department, we are at 99% in terms of paying on time. We are also working to develop internal capacity to deliver on our own through the establishment of workshops that will ensure daily maintenance. Honorable members, the signing into law of the Expropriation Act by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa remain a seminal and a groundbreaking moment toward achieving the vision of the Freedom Charter. We therefore need to move forward with the development of regulations that will guide all entities responsible for expropriation to execute this task. One of other challenges that we face is climate change. Climate change is real and must be treated as an urgent threat. In this regard, sustainable infrastructure development is a necessity, not a luxury. In addition to our policies that support sustainable infrastructure delivery, the department is proud of the work that is being done by Agrima SA in certifying eco-friendly building material. To build climate-resilient communities and promote local economic development, let us support innovation, green industrialization, and above all, plant trees to preserve our planet for our future generation. We do not inherit this environment, but we borrow it from the future generation. Ours is the commitment to the transformation of this country for the creation of a real, non-racial, non-sexist, prosperous, and democratic South Africa for all. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next speaker is the Honorable Thring.
Honorable House Chairperson, the ACDP notes the budget allocation to this Department of Public Works and Infrastructure of some 7.9 billion for the current financial year. The department is the largest real estate owner in the country, managing some 29,955 land parcels, totaling 4.7 million hectares, yet produces poor economic returns or outcomes in comparison to the private sector. Since 2012, the PMTE has been unable to fully implement Archibus in developing a comprehensive asset register, a requirement from the Auditor General. The department cannot function effectively without knowing what it owns, and this deficiency opens the door for corruption and the hijacking of government buildings. The ACDP supports the department's urban regeneration efforts, as well as the repurposing of hijacked and underutilized buildings into affordable social housing or public use facilities, noting that many of these properties are controlled by criminal syndicates and are unsightly, posing safety and health risks. Minister, for as long as the construction mafia are not arrested, South Africa will not become a construction site. We support the strategic repositioning of the expanded public works program as a skills-based employment pipeline. In this regard, the shift from welfare to workforce is commendable, aligning with the ACDP's belief in restoring dignity through meaningful work. The Weli Sizwe Rural Bridges program, announced by Mr. Ramaphosa in 2022, offered promise as a catalytic intervention in rural infrastructure, with the potential of this program to connect communities to clinics, schools, and markets. However, despite the ambitious target, only 11 bridges from the total target of 288 have been completed. This raises legitimate concerns about delivery, capacity, and project oversight. The ACDP notes the department's ambitious infrastructure pipeline, including over 250 projects valued at 268 billion rand, as outlined in the Construction Book 2025. These projects must not remain paper promises. The hundreds of millions of wasted rands during the telecom towers procurement process and the tender corruption at the incomplete Jersey barrier wall in Josini have continually been raised by the ACDP. As kingdom builders, we refuse to be silent. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Thring. The next speaker is Honorable Ghana. Oh, top runner. Oh, it's good to see you, Honorable Reddy. Nakhensa Mthomashitulu. Honorable members, fellow South Africans, let's say it like it should be said. Public works is not working. We must say it like it should be said. Let's not say it otherwise. This afternoon, I rise for a judge, for a magistrate who wants to deliver justice, but there's no courtroom from where to do it. I rise for a traumatized South African who wants to report a crime, but must do so in a dilapidated police station. I rise for the families of the 34 individuals who lost their lives in the George building collapse in 2024. Successive committee reports on other departments serve as evidence of this department's failure to deliver on its mandate. Our public buildings are dilapidated, our infrastructure, which remains insufficient for our growing population and economy, is collapsing. Regulatory bodies are not speaking to one another on vital construction projects, and South Africans are suffering. Almost all projects that this department embarks on are delayed and have cost overruns. Finding a public works project that's delivered on budget and on time is as rare as finding a white person that supported apartheid. The dome just across the road is just but one example. Don't tell us, Minister and Deputy Minister, don't tell us that you are changing. There's a project just here across the road, the dome. Can you promise all of us as members of parliament that one, you are going to deliver it on time, and two, that it will be on budget? I dare you to say it here. I dare you, Deputy Minister, I dare you, Minister, to tell us as members of parliament that the dome across the road will be finished on time and on budget. I doubt you will. I doubt you will. The failures of this department are written in failed service delivery, diminishing public trust and blood. And I must say you are the luckiest department, because even when you fail to deliver, no one marches to your offices because they don't know that you are the cause of failure. The reason there's no service delivery is because of you. You can see them Mthomashitulu. Nakhensa Mchabiseki. The next speaker, Honorable Webster. Honorable Webster, can you please go to your seat? The next speaker will be the Honorable Webster.
My name is Nobuntu Hlazo Webster. Thank you very much, Chairperson. We debate this Department of Public Works and Infrastructure budget on the backdrop of decaying infrastructure in South Africa. Across this country, state-owned buildings are crumbling, clinics and schools are deteriorating, and the public land that is available lies idle. And nowhere is this dysfunction more obvious than in this National Assembly precinct, where it's been over 1,200 days since the fire gutted the chamber, and still we get delays, excuses, and shifting timelines. Last month, we were told that only 11% of the funds earmarked for the rebuilding of the NA had actually been spent. We see an even lazier approach by government departments where instead of fixing government-owned property, departments spend billions of rands in renting private office space to operate. The figure is estimated at approximately 5 billion rand. Make that make sense. We reject this trend, Chairperson. The Department of Public Works is meant to function as the state's property manager, responsible for maintaining the assets that underpin public service and delivery. Yet year after year, this is the same department that underspends on critical infrastructure while returning unspent funds, while we are in a country where schools operate in unsafe buildings, where clinics lack basic infrastructure to deliver healthcare, and where rural roads are unusable. We cannot talk about infrastructure without talking about spatial justice. It appears that this department remains allergic to championing spatial justice. In Cape Town, large, well-allocated parcels of state land sit unused and mismanaged, while housing crisis in the city deepens. Among these are Acacia Park, Easterplaat, and Wingfield. In March this year, I submitted a written question asking the minister where these land parcels would be released and when, and there was no reply. It is not the only question which the minister has not replied to. There are numerous over months unreplied to. I want to remind the minister that he is not only accountable or answerable to his party bosses, but that he is answerable to this House and through this House to the people of South Africa. Chairperson, with over 150 billion rand in property under the control of Public Works, we expect better and in fact we demand better. Until this department stops hoarding land, wasting public money on rentals instead of fixing state assets, and returning unspent funds while infrastructure crumbles, it will remain part of the problem. As my colleague said, you are the problem.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable Dlamini. Order, please. Al Jama. NCC.
Point of order.
Honorable Webster, why are you rising?
The minister is making signs and signals, and that's unparliamentary, and pointing, and that is completely unparliamentary, Chairperson.
I did not see that, but I would urge the minister not to do that. Even that, can you please refrain from doing that? No, I'm not going to go there. I did not see that. Honorable members, order. Honorable Mkize. Honorable members. Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Litap. I am calling you. I will do that. Don't help me. Can we please have order? Honorable Minister, can you stop this exchange with honorable members on the left? It will cause disorder. The next speaker will be the Honorable Bath.
Thank you, Chairperson. I find it very alarming that members of this House still do not understand that the rebuilding of Parliament does not fall within the Department of Public Works' purview. And also that members don't understand what national public works and provincial public works departments are responsible for. Clinics and hospitals are not the purview of the National Department of Public Works. But anyways, Chairperson, as members know, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is personal to me. I joined the department in 2012 through its bursary program and spent over a decade in its administration, from graduate to director, witnessing both its bureaucratic frustration and its immense untapped potential. This time last year, I stood here to support a budget inherited from the 6th administration, and this year we debate a budget shaped by new leadership. Minister McPherson's first turning South Africa into a construction site blueprint. If the past year was about clearing the rubble and designing the blueprint, then this budget is about laying the new foundation, strong, level, and ready to support a department capable of driving growth, creating jobs, and rebuilding public trust. Chairperson, in previous budgets, the department's plans sought to chase 7 national priorities, but only managed to address a few. This year's budget narrows the focus to three broad priorities: inclusive growth and job creation, the cost of living, and building a capable and ethical public service. These signal a department aligning itself to realistic outcomes. Chairperson, change is most visible in the struggling property management trading entity, and rightly so, as it oversees more than 88,000 government buildings owned by the state. For over 2 decades, the PMTE has existed more on paper than in principle. But under this budget, we are finally seeing a small movement. It now manages 54.1 billion rand with 3.9 billion, or 7.2%, allocated to maintenance. A welcome shift, though, Minister, through you, Chairperson, this shift must continue to grow. Importantly, 12,600 hectares and over 55 state-owned properties have been released to the open market, including commercial land in Nkandla just this Monday, with the potential to unlock billions in private investment and stimulating new economic activity. It's so refreshing to hear something positive coming out of Nkandla for once. The DA also welcomes the transfer of properties to capable municipalities and provinces, enabling local delivery and saving the department money. This highlights putting public assets to public good. We support this trajectory, but we also urge the department to fully unlock its commercial mandate and sweat all underutilized assets and start generating revenue. On the expanded public works program, change is also taking shape through tangible policy shifts following the nationwide listening tours. A full reform of EPWP recruitment policy is underway, and to do away with political and other interference. And the program is also targeting over 1 million opportunities this year. Minister, we support your vision for economic inclusion that is transparent, fair, skill-generating, and that which produces market-ready artisans. Chairperson, infrastructure delivery is also gaining traction. This year, with 11 billion being committed to 24 major catalytic projects, while Infrastructure South Africa's 180 million rand project preparation fund is already fully subscribed. Clear evidence of the demand for well-planned strategic infrastructure. Also, a new special projects unit modeled on best practice from the Western Cape government now leads the planning and delivery of complex projects. And through the Durban Declaration, Public Works, SAPS, and National Treasury have united to confront the criminal extortion that has long plagued our nation's construction sites. We also welcome the launch of a private investigation into the 1 billion rand Telkom Towers disaster. The committee eagerly awaits its outcomes, and we must ensure that accountability prevails and that we prevent this reoccurrence in the 7th administration. Minister McPherson has also prioritized strategic reform and oversight. A voluntary construction and asset management advisory board has been appointed, bringing valuable private sector expertise into public policy direction. The department's digital transformation is also underway, supported by a new IT strategy and stronger cybersecurity measures to guard against fraud and hacking. The introduction of lifestyle audits, skills audits, and a long overdue ghost employee audit must also be welcomed. Ethical leadership and political will is the backbone and bedrock of delivery, and Minister, these are promising early interventions. Cabinet's approval of a new board for the Independent Development Trust, effective from the 4th of July, marks a vital reset for an entity that has long been in turmoil. The IDT must now prove it can become self-sustainable and corruption-free, or face being cut as part of government's fat if it fails. The Construction Industry Development Board, the Council for the Built Environment, and Agrima South Africa are showing slow signs of progress. With stronger contractor support, tighter enforcement, and renewed focus on women, young professionals, and innovation. The relevant boards and their executives must now double down to meet the demands of South Africa under construction. As a former bursary recipient myself, I also welcome the awarding of 63 bursaries to young built environment professionals this year. Chairperson, while challenges remain, this department is starting to turn the corner and deliver where it matters most. With a budget of only 7.6 billion, we are seeing what can be achieved when there is political will, clear focus, and ethical leadership. To the Minister, Deputy Minister, and administration, keep doing what you're doing, because public works works, because when public works works, South Africa works. The DA supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. As the African National Congress under the Government of National Unity, we see the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure as fundamental tool of South Africa's growth because this is where we facilitate economic activity and provide necessary services to our people. Policy direction which encourages government is of imperative importance as it takes the lead and provides guidance in the execution of increased national public works programs. This becomes essential for social and economic advancement, which include building and maintaining essential infrastructure such as energy, telecommunications, water and sanitation, and roadways. This infrastructure raises economic activity while supporting necessary services and improving the standard of living for our people. It must be mentioned and affirmed that the ANC support this budget. We support this budget as the ANC because, amongst other things, it is anticipated that spending will rise from 7.6 billion in 2024 to 2025, 8.3 billion in 2027 to 2028, at an average yearly rate of 3%. Approximately 19.7 billion of the department's overall budget for the upcoming 3 years will go towards transfer subsidies for the operations of its entities, non-profit organization, paying wages to those working under the expanded public works program, and conditional grants to provide and municipalities for program implementation. Employee remuneration will be at an amount of 2.1 billion and goods and services will amount to an amount of 2.1 billion and will account for an estimated 4.2 billion of expenditures over the next term. Emuva kocwaningo lomnyango wezezimali lonyaka ka2024 kuya ku2025 kanye nohlelo lwezenhlalakahle oluqhutshwa umnyango wezemisebenzi kahulumeni obhekelela izibonelelo zezifundazwe luhlanganiswe njengesibonelelo esisodwa ngaphansi kohlelo olulodwa olubizwa ngokuthi isibonelelo ezengeziwe semisebenzi kahulumeni ehlelelwe izifundazwe. Lokhu kwenziwe ngenhloso ngoba kwenziwa ngcono imikhiqizo ukusheshsha kokunikezelwa kosizo futhi kuncishiswe izihibe ekunikezeleni kosizo lwezibonelelo oluhlelwe izifundazwe. Lesi sibonelelo esisha esihlanganisiwe kulindeleke ukuthi sibhekelelwe ngesamba sika 2 billion eminyakeni emithathu ezayo. Ukuqiniswa kwamatomu ezinhlelo zokukhuliswa kwamakhono kudinga ukuba zihlomise umbuso ngamandla ukuze lelizwe lindlondlobale. Leli gxathu liyingxenye ebaluleke kakhulu ekundlondlobaliseni nasekuthuthukiseni kwalelizwe. A competent state can more accurately identify skills gaps, design training programs, and guarantee a steady supply of pertinent talents to meet economic demands and advance growth if it has strong institutions and knowledgeable workers. This can then result in inclusive economic growth, less unemployment, and poverty reduction. Through a skill pipeline strategy, the department intends to boost the productive capacity of built environment graduates over the next 3 years in order to enhance infrastructure delivery in the public works sector. Lokhu kuzoba usizo ekwethuleni kohlelo oludidiyelwe futhi oluhlelekile lwezokuqeqeshwa kwabasebenzi bakahulumeni ngokusheshsha, ukubhaliswa imifundaze esibizwa ngokuthi amabhazari, ukuvula kwamathuba wokuqeqeshelwa imisebenzi, izifundo zokuqeqeshelwa, ukusingatha kwezakhiwo kanjalo nokuthuthukiswa kokuqeqeshwa konjiniyela. Lolu hlelo olwengeziwe lwemisebenzi kahulumeni luhlelwe ngalo ukundlondlobalisa ukwakha amathuba emisebenzi ezinhlakeni zontathu zikahulumeni. Luzoqhubeka nokuholwa futhi luqhutshwe umnyango. Izibonelelo ezihlelelwe izinhlangano ezingaphansi kukahulumeni ezizoqhuba lezi zinhlelo kulindeleke ukuba zibonelelwe ngesamba sika 6 billion kule term yamaphakathi. The department intends to create yearly monitoring and evaluation reports, as well as impact assessment on the program's execution in the coming years as part of its ongoing efforts to make it better. Additionally, it intends to offer technical assistance to 200 public agencies in the areas of infrastructure, society, the environment, and culture. The department is intended to report on 1 million plus job opportunities in 2025 to 2026 and up to 1 million plus to job opportunities by 2027 to 2028, as well as provide input in the efficacy of employment policies in order to increase the employability of the workplace over the medium term, and an estimated 7.2 billion will be allocated to EPWP for all associated operations. An estimated 689.1 million of this sum is set aside for personnel salary for managing the increased public works program, and another 532.3 million is allocated to goods and services, specifically for data collection, verification, monitoring, and assessment. As a result, the department intends to assist 3,800 recipients taking part in skills pipeline intervention programs in the medium term. 91.3 million has been set aside for this purpose for the coming year under the Intergovernmental Coordination Program's Professional Services Sub-Program. On January 23, 2025, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the South African Expropriation Bill, now known as the Expropriation Act 13 of 2024, into law. This new law describes the processes and circumstances under which the state may expropriate property for public use or in the public interest, replacing the pre-constitutional Expropriation Act of 1975. The 1975 Act is still in force until the President declares the new Act to be in effect. Even though the Act has been signed, the Act has generated a lot of discussions, with some arguing that it should be used to correct historical injustices, while others are worried about how it will affect property rights and economic stability. To assist the department in facilitating land acquisition when we deal with public goods and infrastructure development, the Expropriation Act becomes key. The Act permits the expropriation of land when willing buyer, willing seller, discussions are unsuccessful in securing land for projects. This can be extremely important. Expropriation is allowed for both public purpose and public interest, which specifically covers land reform and land access. Expropriation can be used to meet social demands like rural development and cheap housing because of this expanded meaning. We need to improve on our streamlined processes where the Expropriation Act provides clarity and certainty by outlining the expropriation procedure, including compensation and dispute settlement, which we have seen a backlog on such matters in the past. Through this Act, there is emphasis on land reform that it must be consistent with constitutional obligation to rectify previous land ownership inequalities. This can be especially important for infrastructure initiatives that help underserved communities. Correcting the historical injustice of apartheid is not negotiable for the majority of South Africans. There must be no confusion between private property value and expropriation in the public interest and public purposes. This is within the rule of law, both locally and internationally, as all countries have expropriation legislation. We want to invest in infrastructure development, where we will be provided with mechanism on how to get land and improve economic development through investment in essential infrastructure like roads, schools, and hospitals. We believe that industrial development and job creation cannot be achieved without access to land through expropriation to improve economic growth and development of our people. The Expropriation Act will encourage and assist municipalities to acquire land for the purposes of important public projects which are aimed at uplifting our people who are mainly economically marginalized. We reaffirm our support for the budget because public works and infrastructure development in South Africa, as emphasized by both the ANC and the National Development Plan, as being essential to a social advancement and economic progress. In its long-term vision for the nation, the NDP placed strong emphasis on infrastructure development as a means of generating employment, raising living standards, and fostering an inclusive economy.
Thank you,
As the
Honourable
ruling
Member.
party,
Your time has expired.
as the ruling party, we support this budget. I thank you.
The next speaker will be the Honourable the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you to those honourable members that spoke in support, the DM, members of the Portfolio Committee, and other honourable members. You know, there was some strange issues put here on the table today. On the one hand, the MK would say that there is no plan to fix and stabilise the IDT. But it has been the MK and the EFF that have fought me at every single turn to fix the IDT. But you know what the good thing is, honourable members? I beat them and we won, and we have got a new board that is going to be starting next week. We have to ask ourselves, who benefits? Who benefits from chaos like that? Then they come and complain about payment and lack of training in EPWP. But that's exactly what we are seeking to reform in EPWP. They can't have their cake and eat it. However, there is one thing that I would agree with them. Maybe it is time that we start looking at the costs around prestige. And there's a good place that we can start. It's called Nkandla. That costs us millions and millions of rands to maintain. So offer your president's home as a place that we can cut costs, and I'm all for it. Then the EFF comes here, and it was difficult to actually fully understand what their gripe was. Because when it comes to engineering, the EFF do not have a good track record. They've once promised to build a house, they didn't do it. They promised to build a school, they didn't do that at all. The one thing that the EFF are consistent at is breaking promises they make to their voters, and that's why in the last election they dropped support. But honourable members, when you are only used to breaking things, the concept and the thought of building things is completely foreign to you. So MK and EFF are happy to break, while many of us are on the road to build. That is what we are committed to doing. And then Action SA come here and start talking about the budget as if they've even read it. Because when the meeting took place to consider it, they weren't even there. They didn't offer an input, they didn't offer solution, they've offered nothing. But let me tell you about a Kansas shuffle. A party that blusters and seeks to distract the public from the terminal and utter decline that they are in at the moment. And this was the same MP, chairperson, the same MP that was reposting fake news on Twitter about the IDT. Fake news, hook, line, and sinker. She fell for it and never once apologized. What the Kansas shuffle is trying to distract people while protecting corruption in entities. That's what that honourable member was doing. Now let's turn to RISE. Let me tell you something that is rare about RISE, is finding a voter who admitted that they voted for them. That is rare. And I'm actually not entirely sure what the point of that party is. They come here, they moan, they complain, they don't attend any committee meetings.
Honourable Minister, can you please take your seat? Honourable Reddy, why are you rising?
Honourable House Chair, you know, the Minister, and I'm saying this with respect, he is not focusing on
Honourable
responding
Dlamini,
to
can you hold on?
questions.
Can you hold
He's
on?
playing
Can you hold
politics.
on?
He should not.
Can you hold on? Honourable Dlamini, I'm trying to listen to Honourable Reddy's order. and I am not hearing anything because you are making noise. Honorable Reddy?
Thank you, House Chair. The Honorable Minister, Rule 86, is not focusing on responding to the substantive issues that's raised. Instead, he's playing politics. He's just talking politics.
Honorable
I want you
Reddy,
to call him to
Honorable
order
Reddy,
and focus
can you
on
please
the
switch the
issues.
mic?
Please. Thank you.
Honorable Reddy, that's not a point of order. Can you please proceed, Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much. And it astounds me that the Honorable Garner, who has been in this House before, does not know what Public Works does. So he wants to criticize us for clinics. He wants to criticize us for schools. That's not our mandate. Which goes to the Honorable Member from Bosa. I'm going to tell you with respect and your leader the very last time. This department is not responsible for rebuilding the parliamentary building. We are not. And if you had actually
Honorable
listened,
Minister, can you please take your
they
seat?
want to argue with facts. It's
Honorable
unbelievable.
Hlazo Webster, why are you rising?
Is the minister willing to take a question?
Honorable Minister, are you willing to take a question?
I'm not prepared to take a question because I've answered this question
Can you please
repeatedly.
proceed, Honorable Minister?
The Public Works is not responsible for building the parliamentary building. Please go and cry at the right funeral because you are attending the wrong funeral repeatedly. And it is amazing because I have told this to both you and your leader repeatedly. We do not build schools. We do not build clinics. Please go and focus your attention on the right thing. But let's contemplate for a moment what all of these parties are actually against when they vote against this budget. They are against infrastructure development to communities to provide water and electricity. They are against bursaries for young people to become engineers. They are against EPWP participants finding a pathway to long-term employment. They are against young entrepreneurs having access to projects. They are against supporting women in construction. They are also against transforming our assets into revenue generation to build social infrastructure. They're also against fighting corruption and ensuring people go to jail. And lastly, and think about this for a moment, they are also against fighting the construction mafia. But maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what some of them in this room want to stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, you are reminded that 2 debates are scheduled simultaneously for 16:30. Honorable Kobe, I'm speaking. You are reminded that the 2 debates are scheduled simultaneously for 16:30 today. The water and sanitation budget vote debate will be held in the Good Hope chamber, while the justice and constitutional development budget vote debate will take place in committee room M46. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.
Yeah.